Hey guys, it's me again. I wanted to make a quick video about adding the Perf cut contour line on the BN20 file when you go to print it. I created these decals that you can see back on the screen behind me for a local bike shop here in town. He's going to be using these to add them onto bicycles that he builds and sells just to promote his business. It's a pretty simple task. It's probably one of the easiest tasks as far as creating perf cut lines on the BN20, and I just kind of wanted to show you guys my process that I do to create those. So here's the file that I created. He sent me a PNG file. It was actually a pretty large file, so I was able to use the trace tool and get a vector version of some of the pieces of this file. And then this actually right here is the PNGs, and I clipped it out, or at least clipped them, as you can kind of see. That's what he gave me. But not trying to get into too much of the graphic design part. That's maybe confusing for some of you, but that's just to let you know that how this file is built. And then I went in and typed in this down here. These are all letters that I typed in, and then I created them as outlines. If you're familiar with Illustrator, then you know what that is. If not, then that's for another video. So here is my perf cut contour line. So when you look at it, it's basically it's a shape. You can switch the color of the shape, to the inside area of the shape, which is basically, I don't know what the machine would do. I guess it would try to cut this whole inside out. Don't worry about that. It's always going to be on the edge, the stroke. So it's just one simple task. You have to have your swatches set up. When you click on your swatches, when you look over here at mine, when I roll over that, it says Perf Cut Contour. So that's all I'm selecting. So that means it's going to cut through the file, or I'm sorry, through the paper material and create my cutout sticker. If I click on the cut contour swatch, it puts the line pink, but then it's just going to just do a cut contour. It's not going to cut through the paper, and I'll be able to just peel the sticker off the paper, and it won't be a die cut decal, so to speak. So really the only way I can explain it is with Illustrator. If you're using some other software design, I don't know how they do it. I don't know. I'm not real familiar with how Corel does it, or Silhouette or Cricut or whatever it is that you use. I'm not sure. I'm an old school graphic designer, and I've used Illustrator for years, so this is the way I know to do it. You can either create these swatches on your own, or once you have the BN20 installed, you should be able to add swatches. So like here, I'll just go to, actually they're already added down here. You'll see the Roland VersaWorks, and then you can see the roller color system library. So I've already added those, but just for the sake of showing you how it's done, when you click on it, it opens up to my Windows Explorer, and then I'm gonna go look for, I'm gonna click back and go to my program files, go down to VersaWorks, and then once VersaWorks opens, it'll say swatch. And then if you're using CorelDRAW or Illustrator, I'm using Illustrator, so I go Illustrator, and then the Roland column system library, that's one I like to use, but then I also use the Roland VersaWorks .ai file. Once you click on that, it'll add it, and then you'll be able to see it in your menu, just like I showed you before. So if you go over here, I click on the swatches down at the bottom, click Roland VersaWorks, it opens up a window, and then has my swatches already in there. So it'll have the cut contour, the perf cut contour. My machine prints white, so I use the RDG white. There's gloss, which doesn't apply to us, but I think there's a machine that probably prints a gloss coating or something. And then there's the metallic swatch for silver, and then RDG primer. And I'm not sure what those two are because I frankly don't use them on my machine. So anyway, right now it's got the cut contour line, so I need to go back and change it back to the perf cut contour. So I'll click on, the perf cut contour. And then when I save the file, I always save it as a, you know, obviously you have to save it as a PDF. You know, I give it a name, I save it. It's just asking me to, if I want to replace it. So when Illustrator will ask you what type of PDF you want to save it as, and I always save it as a press quality, just out of habit, just because, again, like I said, I was a graphic designer. I am a graphic designer, but freelance now, but I was professional for many years and worked with commercial printers, and always just kind of prefer that type of quality for this type of decal. So anyway, then you get it into VersaWorks. So VersaWorks, it's already been added here. So I'm gonna go ahead and just delete it and start over. So we'll go to File, go to Add to Queue, we'll add to Queue A. Sorry, so you can see that. Add Queue A. It's gonna open up your dialog box. I've already been there, so I'm gonna go ahead and click on that file. Pulls it up so I can see it, and it's gonna already show your gray Perf cut contour line. It should be gray. If it's pink, that means you still got the cut contour line, not the perf cut. Click open, wait for it to load. There it is. So then I will come down and click on the settings icon, see it up there. First thing I like to do is get the media width, and I think I've got loaded just regular 20-inch vinyl in there. And so that gets me about 18.6 printable area. And I think I was able to, because this decal is measured, the actual size of the file says 1.8, but the actual decal itself is 1.7. So when it says that 1.8, it's actually measuring the space outside the cut line too, the actual size of the file. What that means, it's measuring this outside square right here too. This outside square is 1.8. The file itself is going to be 1.75, but it's, when it pulls that file in, it's pulling all this space, like even this little space right here, it's including that space, and this space up here, and then this space down here. That's why you get that 1.8. Even though the decal is set to be print at 1.75. So I'll center it on the media, just because I like to keep it even, and then I'll click how many copies of it I want, just to kind of see how many I can get across. And then, so that's probably about it. It looks like there's about 9. Mine defaults to 0.16 inch spacing. If you click up one time, I think it takes it to 0.41. I'm not sure what the increment is, maybe a quarter increment. But then that makes it not fit on the paper. So sometimes I'll go in and just kind of guesstimate. So I'll maybe do 0.25, and that works. You don't want them real close together, because when you are doing the perf cut, you want to give the machine plenty of material to cut, because a lot of times if they're cutting perf cut too close, it might bunch up the material and cause a head strike, and then just kind of jam up a little bit, and it won't, it'll jack everything up. Ink will get smeared and all that good stuff. So anyway, I like to leave pretty good space, at least a 1/4 inch between each of them. That way the cut is good. So as far as my cut settings, my blade, I have it set at a, I don't know. I mean, I used an old school, plotter style cutter, vinyl plotter, like this one. This one right here is what I'm talking about, this type of cutter. It also has a blade similar to the BN20. And when you load these blades in, they always tell you to give it a, the height of the blade. I don't think you can see it because of it is just too, anyway, maybe if I put it in front of this. So the height of the blade, like you can't even see, well, there you go. If I just kind of tilt it. So now you can see it. That blade shouldn't be sticking out very high. You can barely see it. See, it says no higher than the thickness of a credit card, maybe even half the thickness. It should just be barely sticking out. And I think this one I'm pushing on the bottom to kind of get it to go up. My blade inside my BN20 is going to be set the same way. It's got the same style of mechanism that this has over here. I think it's pretty standard. So that's what I always set it at. And when the blade's sharp, it should be good to go. And I think my blades are a 60-degree angle. I've used 60 and 45-degree angle, but I can't personally really tell the difference. I just stick to 60. So anyway, make sure that's tight. Oh yeah, I loosened it up. So make sure that's tight. So that's tight and it's ready. I think my paper is good. So when you got your paper set up, you always want to leave a little bit sticking out. If you have it lined back all the way back here or back there, when it retracts to set itself to print, it might get caught up. This little corner right here will get caught up in that space that's under there that you can't see and might bind up. So you always want to leave out maybe, I think it's like 4 inches or so. That way it has plenty of material to move back and forth and do good cuts. Back over to the VersaWorks. So you want to select on your quality. I always pick, so the material I have in here is just it's actually the Roland glossy vinyl. Click on standard. It's gonna say that it's gonna take 4 minutes. I don't change anything else here. All that stays the same. Unless, yeah, all that stays the same. I don't change any of that stuff. So color management, I don't change. Format, all that good stuff. Printer controls, I don't touch that. Cut controls. So here's where I get into what type of pressure I want to use when I cut, based on the condition of my blade, how old it is. You can kind of tell when as you're using it if it's not cutting very well. So then you either have to change it out or adjust your settings. I think it defaults to these settings here. The perforation length is basically how long the let's see if I can zoom in on this over here. So the perforation length is going to be how long it cuts until it lifts up and then starts cutting again. So if you've seen it cut before, you guys know that this machine cuts very slow. A plotter will cut, or I think the other style cutters will cut continuously. The BN20 does that thing where it goes down, cuts, then spirals up, moves, goes down, then cuts again. It's that slow process, but it works. It takes forever, but it still gets the job done. And like with these decals that I printed, I mean, it did perfect for what I needed it for. So anyway, so the perforation length, since this decal is 1.75 inches in diameter, you got to give it enough perforation to where it's still going to be able to hold the decal in the paper. If you do like 3-inch diameter, it's going to cut a line 3 inches until it stops. At the end of 3 inches, then it'll pick up and cut again. Well, that might be the whole circumference of the circle. So I just usually keep for this size of sticker, I always just kind of bump it up to 2 inches. It kind of defaults there at 1.969, so I'll just bump it up to 2 inches. And then the perforation force. So this is where I had to kind of do some testing, some trial and error. I left this at that setting, ran a job, and it cut through, but not very well. And I kind of had to force the decal out of the paper. And then sometimes it'll tear the paper and just leave, leave pieces of the paper. It just makes the sticker not come out very clean. So what I did is I just started bumping up the force. I bumped it up to 180 and then I'd print a job. I'd bump it up to 190 and print a job, and then I'd bump it up to 200 and print a job until I got comfortable to where it was cutting it nice and clean. So for this one, I chose 200, and 200 worked perfect. The half cut length, I think that is the how long the material is that doesn't get cut. So correct me if I'm wrong in your comments, but the half cut length, so let's say this sticker is going to be a circle. So there's, there's no drawing, blah, blah, blah. It looks like a bike, whatever. So there's the sticker. The half cut length, I think, is going to be the area that it doesn't cut. So when it cuts this decal, it's going to cut like this. It's going to come down and do this cut, bzzz, and then it's going to come up, go down, and do this, bzzz, and it's going to come up and go down and do this cut. That's how it's going to go through and do the cuts. The half cut length, I believe, is this area right here. How long it leaves that material open. Each one of these little spots here. That's the half cut length. So when it cuts through there, it's going to cut completely through this area right here, but it's not going to cut there. That's how much it's going to leave open. And right now it's set at 0.02 of an inch, so it's pretty small. It's going to be a little bitty. It's like a little tiny, a tiny line, and probably that size. So when I select it to be my perforation length, that's going to be this area right here. how long the length is. So I've set it to be, what did I set? 2 inches. So if this ain't, you know, this is where you start going into geometry, and I didn't do good in geometry. I just know that it's going to travel 2 inches around this circle and then do a lift up and then start cutting again until it either hits 2 inches again or hits the next perf cut. But that's kind of how that works, to my knowledge. Like I said, you can, if some of you guys can explain that better, you can put it in the comments and let me know. Make your own video, you figure it out. So once I get that done, then I'll click OK. So just kind of review, perforation length is set at 2 inches. The force, I bumped it up from 170 to 200, and that's because I did trial and error with the material I used and kind of figured out what worked best. This doesn't work with all material. You got to test it and work with it. You can't just assume that this setting is going to work with every material that you use. And then half cut length, I actually just leave that the same. I never change that. And half cut force, same thing. I don't change that either. I just leave that the same. So I click OK, and then I go to print, and it prints out, and then here I'll just go ahead and just print one, and then we'll show you. And I'll print it on draft mode, but we'll just show how the cut works, just for the sake of doing it. So I'll go over here, I'll just do draft, it's 2 minutes. Click the layout, I'll just do one. Hit OK, just put one over there, OK. And then I'll send it to print, and then I'll save you the pain to listen to the printer print. So there it is. So I obviously wasted a ton of material just to show you guys that, but I just wanted to show you how it worked. So it's still wet right now, probably, so if I touch it, it's probably gonna smear and stuff, but you can kind of see what the cut looked like. So let me cut it off of here, and we'll look at the back of it. So here it is here. I got it on my little work table. I'm gonna put a heat gun on it just to kind of speed up the process, maybe not too much because I don't want it to curl up. Just trying to get it a little less tacky. I always give the decals at least 24 hours to dry. And actually, with this material, when I printed the decals, the sides of them started to curl up. So to prevent that, and I think it's just this material. It's just kind of cheap. The Roland material is. I prefer the IJ35 from 3M, but I was giving this guy a deal, so he didn't care what the material was. He's just going to stick them on the bikes. I didn't do any kind of lamination, any kind of covering on that. Just this is what it is. So it cut through. You can see that it cut through. And if you look closely, you can see where the not the perf cut, but the I already forgot what that was called. The half cut length. You can already see. You can kind of see where the half cut length is when you're looking at it. Even when I peel it back, where it's holding on to the decal, it's going to be in this little area. It's kind of hard to see with the phone, but it's there. So that's pretty much it. So once I get it to this point, I'm able to pop them out. Pretty simple. It just comes right out. See, it's still attached. There's the half cuts. It's what's holding it. Like I said, it's hard to see them, but there it is, and it just pops right out. The edges I noticed are a little bit jagged on this one. Sorry for all the shakiness. The edges look a little bit jagged on that. Yeah, for the most part, it's good. But yeah, see that little tag sticking out there? When I say tag, it's just like a little piece of material just kind of sticking out there. I wonder if it'll let me zoom on it. Oh yeah. right there. That's going to be the half cut material that was left. So it basically looked like it had maybe 4 of those in that circle. There's one right there. 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, maybe just 2. 1, 2, or 3. But yeah, and that's all it needed, and it was able to cut it through. So that's pretty much it. I hope that helped kind of clear up a little bit of how it works. It wasn't really a how-to video, but it's how I do it, and I've had pretty good luck with it. Not every decal is going to be perfect. You have to do a lot of trial and error. Like I mentioned before, you can't just use those same settings for every decal that you do. It takes a little practice and a little bit of material usage. So, but once you get it down, you start getting accustomed to the thickness of all the different materials that you use, and it starts to work well. Again, so this is a simple cut. This is just a circle. If I have a more intricate decal, like this decal for example, a little more, it's got some different type of cuts on it. So this is actually printed on clear with a white. I don't know if you can see the white. Oh, my little buddy came in. Get down, sister. I'm trying to do something here. Hold on. So I'll slow the cut speed down so it doesn't rip the decal. Maybe you've probably experienced when you're doing the perf cut, when you pull your decals paper out, and they're ready to punch out, there might have some jagged cuts in there. So what I do is I slow it down so it doesn't do that. And again, it's going to take forever to cut that, but you get good smooth cuts. So with that, you have to go to cut condition settings. So right here, when you click on there, you hit cut condition settings, and then you do cutting speed, and I'll slow that thing down all the way to 5 centimeters per second. And then cutting force, I'll increase it to 75. And this actually, I've been doing that on all my decals, no matter what the material is. When it's an intricate design like that, and that seems to work. But again, you can play with that cutting force. I think what I just set it at here is standard. I think it's always set at 50, and this is always set at 15. I think there's a max number you can set it at and a minimum number. I don't think it'll let you do 1. Oh yeah, it will. So I always just do 5, just because that's already slowing it down from 15 centimeters to a second. So once I set it like that and then run it, it seems to work real well as far as those intricate cuts. So just practice, just get in there, get you a design with a little more shapes on it. Once you figure out how to add the PerfCut line on there, in whatever software you're using, get it into VersaWorks onto the machine, and then just start practicing. That's all you can do. Just adjust those adjustments, either heavier or lighter, or the pressure, and then use whatever works. Thanks.